Here are 3 more things you should never say if you're pulled over by the police. Number 1, I'm just a few blocks from home. Obviously, if you say that, what you're doing is you're admitting you know you shouldn't be driving, but you're asking to be let go. You're asking the police officer to conclude that because of your proximity to your ultimate destination, you're just a few blocks from home. You should be allowed to flout the law, and continue to drive in a potentially intoxicated or otherwise inappropriate state. They're not going to let you do it just because you're a few blocks from home. Relatedly, the second worst thing you could say if you're pulled over by police is, can I just park the car and walk the rest of the way? Can I park the car and take an Uber? Can I park the car and get a taxi? I'll just park it and leave it here, officer. Again, this is basically an admission of guilt. This is you admitting you know you did wrong. And yes, a lot of people will say this because they don't want to have their car impounded or because they don't want to deal with the consequences of what they might be issued, and they think that this is a good alternative. That might have worked in the 1970s, but this is not the 1970s. And when you say that now, the police officer is going to interpret that as you know you're doing something wrong and you're attempting to negotiate. You're attempting to ask for a favor. Police hate it when you try and negotiate with them what you're doing wrong roadside to try and get out of the situation. If they were going to give you a warning, they would have probably already done that. And warnings happen for minor traffic offenses, speeding, or, rolling through a stop sign, something like that. They don't happen for impaired driving investigations or serious traffic offenses, typically. And the best way to get a warning is not to ask the police to give you the warning. And the last thing you shouldn't say when you're pulled over by police is, do you know who I am? First of all, if you're the type of person where you think the police should know who you are, and they haven't already given you an indication they know who you are, it's because they probably don't. Or they do, and they don't particularly care for you enough to give you the type of break. Can you imagine me getting pulled over by a police officer and going, do you know who I am? I'm on TikTok talking about what to do when dealing with the police. They are not going to care. They don't care who you are. Police have to be able to do their jobs, not influenced by who they've arrested or who they've pulled over. And yes, there are some circumstances in when police may use discretion based on somebody that they're dealing with, where potentially, the professional or societal consequences outweigh the severity of their conduct, and they decide to use the discretion. But if you're a politician, if you're a fellow police officer, if you're a lawyer, a TikTok influencer, a restaurant reviewer, it does not matter. Do you know who I am is not a get out of jail free card. In fact, do you know who I am is probably just going to belittle the police officer, because not only is it going to say, I'm more important than you, that's implicitly what you're saying when you say that. It's also suggesting that they're not smart enough for figuring out who you are and why you deserve to be given a break. Do not use this line. It makes you look like an a-hole. It makes you look like a wealthy person who is attempting to flex something that this officer, who's probably being paid, barely a living wage, is not going to be particularly impressed by. Do you know who I am is one of the worst things you can say when you're pulled over by the police.